Hello. Today is the 12th of December, 2017, and I'm Paul Glumaz, and I am an active organizer with the political movement of Lyndon LaRouche, and this is being brought to you by General Welfare Presents. So, I'm going to give you a kind of a battle report on what's going on. Now, there is now a very clear global conflict going on between two very different systems, two very different paradigms. On the one hand, we have the paradigm of the European aristocracy, the British elites, and their people in the U.S. who have crafted an empire of finance and crime and genocide and wars, essentially since the post-war period. But and they have recruited the U.S. to be the enforcement arm of their empire. Their directionality is population reduction, stopping development everywhere, turning back the world to a less developed condition. They have destroyed the culture. They have destroyed any idea of a future. They hate science and technology. They hate progress. And that's one paradigm. And this is we call this the neoliberal paradigm. That's what they call themselves. They are culturally a product of the efforts starting after the war by the Congress of Cultural Freedom, promoting all of this stuff, which has now become the core values, our core values, right? Our core values are what? Our core values is the freedom of each individual to do whatever they want, rather than the freedom of an individual to make a contribution for the future of the human race. The other new system that's coming in, is the system that LaRouche has been promoting for the last 40 years. That system has been adopted by China and has been joined by Russia. And that system is a system of what Xi Jinping calls the common destiny of man, or the common future. And it's a future of industrial technological progress. It's a future of pulling the entire world out of poverty. It is an incredibly beautiful future. And Helga Zepp LaRouche, who is recognized in China as the New Silk Road lady, who proposed all of this back 25 years ago, calls it the new paradigm. The new paradigm of nations collaborating for mutual development. A paradigm where instead of destroying the power of creativity in individuals, you actually promote the creative power in individuals, and promote a vision of a future. And this is now coming into being. It's taking over the world, and so this is partly a battle report on that. So in the last few weeks, there has been momentous trends towards this in Eastern Europe and Central Europe, in a discussion that's going on right now between India, China, and Russia, in whole developments in the Middle East, developments in Africa, developments in Latin America, huge conferences, 3,000 people in Uruguay on the Belt and Road, with regard to all of Central America and Latin America, a big conference in France, a conference that Helga Zepp LaRouche spoke at in Zhuhai, near Macau, in Guangdong province in the south of China, on the new maritime Silk Road. These conferences all over the world are having an incredible impact. There was a conference in Beijing, where 600 individuals showed up representing 300 political parties in 120 different countries. where the Communist Party opened up relations with all these parties, including the Democratic and Republican Party. This is all to explain and get across the idea of the future of mankind in the Belt and Road and the win-win perspective. Then you have the huge development that occurred in Japan, where the Japanese Prime Minister, receiving a large delegation of Chinese businessmen, said that it would be good if Japan participated with China in collaborating with them in building the Belt and Road. This would give a tremendous economic benefit to the Japanese and to Japanese industry and Japanese construction companies. So this is huge. This is bringing Japan in. And this is moving very, very fast. I can't tell you how fast it's moving. And then you have Donald Trump. And Sputnik, the Russian publication, just said that Tillerson made a comment saying that that the U.S. is ready now to negotiate with the North Koreans without any preconditions. We can sit down and we can talk. We can talk about what the shape of the table, if you want. We can talk about the weather. We just need to sit down and talk. So this is a huge development. Then you have the whole situation going on with that you already know about, with massive Chinese investment coming into Alaska, West Virginia, especially West Virginia, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and other states. Now, the whole idea behind the Chinese investment is to get the United States back up to away from the post-industrial system, where you just basically are based on consumer, retail, services, and IT, to an actually more manufacturing, more production-oriented society, because the U.S. has a certain amount of productive potential that can be tapped for developing the world. So the Chinese want the U.S. to partner with them, just like the Japanese are starting to partner with them in this global development project. This will not just create millions of jobs, but it's just massive. But we have the looming collapse of the financial system coming. There's tremendous warnings coming from all over the place. You have this Bitcoin thing that could also has become a problem. It could also blow the whole financial system when it collapses. You have all the you have all the stocks going up to the stratosphere. That's going to collapse. So that's coming up ahead. The financial collapse is coming up ahead. So that's one side of the battle. Now the other side of the battle is centered around the removal of Donald Trump from the presidency. There is a redoubled effort to remove Donald Trump from the presidency. So he's being hit from all sides. So he's being hit from the side of Niki Haley and Spence, Vice President Pence, Michael Pence. He's being hit from those sides because there was this huge campaign among their layer of evangelical Christians that Trump had to stand up for Israel. That Trump would be renege on his promise if he didn't stand up for Israel. And so there was this huge campaign to force Trump in a crisis where he had to do something that was ill-advised by any expert at that time, that you would not, if you recognize Jerusalem, it's like a bomb going off. And so, but at a certain point, he decided to go ahead and recognize Jerusalem and then kind of backtrack a little on that. But it's not because Trump was predetermined to recognize Jerusalem as the capital. It's because he was being driven by this element, which is not the element that is committed to the future of mankind. They are committed to Armageddon. They're committed to the end times, and allegedly the recognition of Israel is the beginning of the end times. So the whole clock now is moving towards the end times because Trump recognized Jerusalem, and this whole thing, and don't confuse the evangelicals with the Zionists. The evangelicals believe that that the Jews will return to the Middle East, and they will be sacrificed. They will all die in the Battle of Armageddon before the rapture, or after which the rapture occurs. And this is not this is and that the Jews have sinned. They murdered Christ and so on and so forth. So the people who are manipulating this. This is a British. This whole millenerian thing comes out of a British intelligence goes all the way back to the 1850s, when a British preacher by the name of Darby began pushing this whole British Israelism and the beginning of all this. So this is a huge component of Trump's base are these evangelical Christians who are voting for him because he's going to help bring Armageddon to pass. So that's not a very good reason to vote for somebody, but nonetheless they voted for Trump for that reason, and Trump is being right now is not in a position to have them go after him to have them chasing him down the street the way he's being chased down the street by the mainstream media and by the Obama crowd. So he went ahead and recognized Israel as recognized Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, and Putin is now going to probably come out. It's implied that Putin is going to come out and recognize and say that he should recognize East Jerusalem as the capital of the Palestinian nation. So who knows where this is all going to go? There is this major thing, but this is part of the situation that Trump's in, where he's being hit from all sides. And don't kid yourself. Niki Haley and Michael Pence are nobodies, and they're no friends of Trump. They would love to have Trump removed and have Pence come in as the president. So this is called having being in a situation where you got crocodiles everywhere trying to get you. And so that's part of the battle situation. Now, the secondary part of the battle situation is the Mueller FBI drive to set Trump up and have him force him out of office by coming up with a crime that would allow the Congress and the Senate, which does not support Trump, to use that for impeaching Trump. So we have gotten out a dossier on Mueller, and that dossier has had a big impact, and right now we're at a point where the entire Mueller thing is coming down inside the box. The entire Mueller thing is coming down, and the latest development is that this guy Bruce Orr, who was the number 4 person in the Justice Department, and this is the dossier, by the way, and he's number 4 in the Justice Department. He was the guy handling GPS and Steele Christopher Steele on the dossier, and it turns out that his wife was working for Fusion GPS during the critical period of 96. So this is incredible. I mean, it's just absolutely incredible, the corruption here. So now McCabe, who is really running the show, running this whole operation, who is the assistant FBI director, refused to come before the Congress for a hearing, saying he had a scheduling conflict. So he's due to come before the Congress recesses for a hearing, and so this is very important. And then Christopher Wray, I believe, has to testify as well. And so this thing is, and I think Bruce Orr also has to testify. So this thing is, they're closing the House committee under and the Senate committee under Grassley and the House committee under Nunes are now closing in, and they're demanding all these documents. They're not getting all the documents. There's contempt coming, and then so this thing, is starting to smell so bad that the Washington Post and some of these other media are saying, it's a shame that people are destroying Mueller's credibility. One guy being interviewed, very prominent person, said that what Fox News is doing by reporting what they're reporting is treason. It's it's an obstruction of justice. Anyone who attacks Mueller is an obstruction of justice. So they're getting very desperate. And then this commentator on Fox, Judge Janine, got up there and said this corruption is very serious. They don't just need to resign. They need to be let out in handcuffs. So this thing is escalating into Muellergate. So we're going from the Russiagate to Muellergate, which is very good. So now we're redoubling our efforts to get out this pamphlet. The pamphlet goes through the role of Robert Mueller in the 80s, late 80s, in running the Get LaRouche task force that put LaRouche and many of our members in prison and almost shut down this organization, and also by doing so denied and in that context denied the access of most of the U.S. population to LaRouche's ideas, which they had before this period. Then it was Mueller who ran the operation against Noriega, giving all these prominent drug traffickers, getting them off in exchange for false testimony to put Noriega, who was the leading drug fighter in Latin America. And then it was Mueller as FBI director who came in just before 9/11, who actually presided over the cover-up of all the evidence relating to the Saudis and so forth. So this is the same Mueller. And this dossier has had a great impact. We're trying to massively expand the reach of this dossier into the strategic layers of Congress. We're going to be going for a mass distribution in Washington on Monday, tomorrow. We're going to go into a mass distribution of this pamphlet in Washington on Monday. Not Monday, but Wednesday or Thursday. So that's that part of the battle. Now, a lot of you right now are scratching your head. You're wondering what the hell is going on. All these senators and congressmen have accusers, and they're not being accused of rape. They're being accused of trying to put their hand up somebody's skirt, or they're being accused of patting somebody on the rear end, or they're being accused of trying to convince them to become surrogate moms. In the case of Arizona, and then you have Conyers resign. He didn't even put up a fight. You have Al Franken resign, almost like, I'm taking one for the team, and now you have all these allegations against the candidate, Republican candidate in Alabama, Roy Moore. And they're even saying that if he were to be elected, they would essentially try to remove him through on the basis of ethics committee in the Congress. Now, so that's the situation. So what's the point? Why are they doing this? Because they need to do something to prevent and distract the political process. Make this the main issue, to terrorize the politicians, but most of all, prevent the Democrats from working with Trump, so that Trump is stuck with the Pences and the
Paul Ryans and
the Paul Ryans and McConnells and what's her name, the UN secretary, the UN Niki Haley's, and so forth. They're trying to keep him stuck to that, but keeping the Democrats who would work with Trump on economic policy from having anybody. So who's he going to work with? He can't work with the Republicans on these policies that we're promoting. He has to work with some Democrats and some Republicans. But But the climate is such that it's very hard. There was a moment there a few months ago where the Democrats were about to start to work with Trump, but then something happened. All this crap started to occur. around first with Roy Moore, and then now we're into the full season of groping gate or whatever. Everybody's getting a groping gate, and so and now yesterday they came out. Megyn Kelly, all these women are coming out saying I got groped by Trump. You know, I don't. Who knows what that's all about? And it's just going to continue. And then you had this introduction of an impeachment resolution by Congressman Al Green from Texas. And the impeachment resolution does not specify any crimes. It just specifies that Trump is a racist. He's a misogynist. He hates women. He hates LBGTs or LGBTs or whatever they call them. He hates and most of all, he's a sexual harasser, and that's the cause for impeachment, right? So, and 58 congressional Democrats voted to prevent the tabling of that resolution, which was tabled, of course. It was totally insane, impeachment resolution, because it had nothing to do with a crime. It had to do with perceptions created by the media. So in that situation, is really crazy. Now, how this situation is very serious. Now, we are going to see a financial collapse coming, and Trump has to be ready to be in place. And he has a State of the Union message coming in 49 days on January 30th, and we have to have Trump prepared to go with our policies. LaRouche's 4 laws, in effect, Glass-Steagall credit system, an infrastructure project, and a revival of the space program and a commitment to fusion. Now, the space program, he's now pushing very big to get that back. There's also a big push to bring back nuclear power, but they have no means to do it with at this point. So essentially, what's happening is we have to have this stuff ready to go within 49 days. Trump has to go before the American people on the as the State of the Union and tell people how this is going to work. In that period of time, we could very well see a worsening of the financial situation. So that's our job. Now, one of the things that is very important that we're doing is that we're going to be running the LaRouche movement is going to be running independent congressional candidates in key races, and one of them is in Houston, Texas. We're running the well-known Keisha Rogers in the district of Al Green. So Al Green is going to find that he's going to be up against Keisha Rogers in terms of answering the insanity of this identity politics as the core of American politics. This is the British. This is the British trying to control the political process in the U.S. by keeping, on the one hand, the identity politics on the one hand, and the wild Armageddon crowd on the other. You got Trump caught between the two. Everybody's caught between these two psychotic elements, and that's kind of what the game plan is. And so while everybody's rioting in the Middle East, I mean, Trump moved because he didn't to recognize Jerusalem, because he didn't want to get crushed on that side, but he's being there's this other thing coming to crush him around groping and all of that. So this is insane. This is complete insanity, and most people are wondering what the hell's going on. Now, this guy Roy Moore in Alabama, I looked him up a little bit in Wikipedia, and I didn't realize what this was all about. Well, he was elected. Roy Moore was elected early in the first decade of the 20th century as the Chief Justice, and he had a marble plaque. He had a marble statue to the 10th Commandments. He refused to remove it, and he was removed. And then later, he was removed for refusing to implement the same-sex marriage, and that happened last year. And then he ran for Senate to the vacated Senate race, and so he's kind of been a galvanizer of this Christian stuff. But the point is that this whole thing is just insane. This whole thing is just insane. And you know, I'm not saying anything bad about Roy Moore, but I'm just saying the whole thing is just completely insane. And we need to get some sanity in the situation. And we're going to be running candidates on the program. And we have to now start the campaign to get the economic policy up there and ready to be part of the State of the Union address.